Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Yes, I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
All right. Welcome to Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. I'm your co-host, January Liddell, and here is my guest for today.
Tom Campbell, how are you?
So Tom actually is a good friend of mine, and I wanted him to get online because we've had a lot of great conversations. He is a wise and amazing soul. He's very generous. He's very uplifting, and his main goal is to really encourage and uplift others. So I really wanted Tom to be on the show, and so welcome, Tom. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about stress, and the reason why I wanted to talk about stress is because as you know, we have been through a lockdown, a pandemic that has caused a lot of different mental health issues. And that's a huge topic to talk about. So we're not going to be able to cover everything. But the reason why stress came to mind is because there are a lot of us that are stressed out. And it's easy for us to keep on working, and not take that break. And a friend of mine started this intentional 1-minute pause, and we started it over a month ago. And that 1-minute pause helped a lot. And eventually I increased it to 2 minutes, and then I increased it to 5 minutes. Well, now I'm in this program. It's a meditation program. It's been 10 days since I've been doing it. And today was about stress, and it talks about how can we handle stress. So Tom, let me ask, because I know that you and I have gone through such a different time in 2022 compared to last year.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, last year I don't think it was as stressful. We had stress, but there's good stress and there's bad stress, right? And so for you, for this year, without going into really full details if you don't want to, but what kind of stressors have impacted you in terms of your mental health and all that?
Well, Jan, actually, I'll just be straightforward and transparent. Raising adult children, or having them in your life, their trials and tribulations, those all of those things can add to stress levels. Work in general can be stressful. I mean, sometimes even your friends can be stressful. The things that they're going through can add stress to your life. I think that one of the most important things that I do, and I was taught this a long time ago, is to recognize your tornadoes. That's what we'll relate stress as tornadoes. Each subject matter that creates stress is a tornado. So, you have to look at them, and just kind of take a realistic perspective of what those tornadoes are doing. Are they turning into a mushroom cloud, or are they just spinning around, in your way? You just have to keep avoiding them. Or get caught up in them, one or the other. So by judging which ones are just spinning around, and also, or I should say, recognizing which ones are just spinning around and which ones may actually, turn into a mushroom cloud, then you can prioritize what it is that you need to do so that you can alleviate that stress. And it takes, even that causes stress, but it does help. It helps a great deal.
So I like that you said that first we have to recognize which one it is. I think that's great. We don't always have to respond to each and every one of them. So I like that it's a moment to just kind of stop and think, okay, which one deserves my attention, right? So I like that. So I do want to talk about proactively, how can we alleviate the stress in our lives?
Well, I'll tell you, look behind me.
I know.
So
the background.
The number one thing that I can do for myself to alleviate stress is to play guitar. Because when I'm playing guitar, my mind is focused on, being able to hit the notes, or be adventurous, create a new sound or a new song or a new rhythm. And, it totally removes you from all of the other stress because your brain is focused, your mind is focused, and it's rewarding at the same time.
All right. So number one, music. And I love that you mentioned music. I love all the guitars in the background. In fact, actually, I do want you to play a little bit if you can later on, but music. Okay. So that was actually one of the things that John Legend, he's a part of Headspace. I don't get paid for Headspace, but that's the app that I'm using for, my stress program, my, meditation program. And John Legend had mentioned that music changes our mood. It changes our ability to react to certain stressors. So he actually did a study. He did a test, and he used the Oculus. So the Oculus is a virtual, device, and he's walking on a plank. Well, he's walking on a plank without music. Okay, it's just him walking on a plank. And if you've ever used the Oculus, it feels real. It feels like you're actually in it. So as he's walking, he's feeling anxiety. He's feeling like he's very slow to where he steps. Even though he's on level ground, the mind can really change and alter, how we're feeling. And then the second one was when the doctor had put in headphones. So she put in headphones, and it was nice, peaceful music. So now with the nice, peaceful music, he was able to walk that plank without feeling too much of this anxiety, right? Well, the third time he did it, the doctor put in the headphones again, and this time it was with upbeat music. Because as you know, like the different types of genre of music can really change the way that you feel. So it was upbeat music. So now instead of walking, now he's like dancing on the planks, and he's like, oh, I could do this. And he's like, well, I can even consider jumping off the plank. So I love that you said music. So that's number one. What do you think what else is there to alleviate stress?
Well, another thing is, just finding things that you really enjoy, like guitar, for instance, we have a place up in the Sierras, going up there, and getting a break, even though we still have jobs to do, everything else, but you do get away from the normal routines, the horns beeping, the traffic, stuff like that. And same thing with, going down to the marina, just kicking it there. And believe it or not, I play guitar there too, but even still, it's just one of those things that, having like a safety area, I don't know if safety is the right word, but it's just a place where you can relax, and take some things off your mind. That's what I would say. And I would add one more thing too, just while we're on it. You had mentioned anxiety. There's so many things that stress can do to people. It can create depression, anxiety, the sleeplessness. I mean, there's so many things that stress can generate in the human body, and it's really important to recognize it and to address it.
Yes. I think sometimes we brush it off and say, no, I can handle it. And some people, use different things to handle stress, such as alcohol, such as drugs, and those are not healthy ways, right? There are healthier ways. And, I do love the fact that you said get out in nature. That's actually one of the things that I've learned too, is, to alleviate stress, to kind of calm, the stress and the pressure that's going on in my life, is to just walk outside, take a breather, take a breath of fresh air. There are some places though, like, New York, like these cities, that it's really hard for us to just get out, in nature. And so studies have shown that even looking at a picture of the ocean or a picture of, the forest, can actually alter how we feel. So if you're not able to get out in nature and actually, see and touch and, feel the fresh air, then even just looking at a picture of nature can actually help as well. All right. So
Yeah.
number three, Tom, what is your number three?
I would say my number three is part of number one, but I would say that being able to recognize what you don't have control over. Now, it could be other people that have scenarios that are going on in their lives, which is causing stress for you, which you have no control over. And once you realize, you say, hey, wait a minute, no matter what, there's nothing I can do about this. I have no control over it. So I have to excuse this from my, what's happening here. You're just like, okay, I can't do anything about it. So why am I worried or stressing or, however you want to word it.
Ooh, okay. There's a prayer that comes to mind. So that prayer is the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I love that prayer because you're right. We cannot control everything around us, even though we feel like we can. I think a lot of us, I know for me, I do want to control certain things, and I have to be, I have to remind myself that I can't. There's no way that I can control everything. I can have my plan all laid out and everything is like, okay, everything looks good. As you know, I used to be a wedding coordinator. I can still coordinate weddings. I'm a planner and organizer. So, things have to, the way that I envision things, I like things to be like, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But sometimes that A, B, C, D, E, F, G can be A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 8, 3, 8, G. I mean, it can go all over the place.
Yeah.
Yes. So the prayer. So what's your number four?
Number four would be just a little bit of self introspect, looking inward. I've read a couple of really good books. One was by Eckhart Tolle. It's called The Power of Now. It had a really good impact on me, understanding stress. I don't know if you've ever read that, but it's about time, really, in essence, because every second that passes, it's gone. So it kind of represents, death at the same time. But it also talks about people who live in the future and they're always living in fear. And then there's people who live in the past that are always living in pain. And then the last one is the people who live in both times. And that's a tough one to deal with. But reading that book was really good because it gets you in the moment. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Do I have all 5 digits? Am I breathing? Is there a blue sky? Do I have a roof over my head? It's like, wait a minute. You stop and appreciate the stuff that you actually do have.
Yeah. So that's mindfulness. I learned that in high school, and that was probably one of the major things that I got in high school. I got many, but that was one of the major ones. And I say a mantra. It's right here, right now, because there are moments where our mind can play tricks on us. Okay, and we do have to remember that we are right now in the present. We're not in the past. We're not in the future. We're right here in the present. My therapist gave me this tool. Okay, so this is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the first one is 5. What are 5 things that you see? So whenever you're feeling stressed, what are 5 things that you see? What are 4 things that you can touch? Okay. What are 3 things that you can smell? What are 2 things that you can, what was the other 2? Hear. 2 things that you can hear. Okay. And then number 1, what's 1 thing you can taste? So that's
really good.
Yeah, thanks. That actually, whenever I'm able to do this tool, then it kind of brings me down, from whatever my stress level is to a little bit more down and more in the mindful of the moment.
Yeah, right. I like that because it does make you stop and think about those certain things in that chronological order, and it diverts your mind from thinking about the other stuff. So it gives your mind a mental break. I like that.
Totally. Yeah. And just gets you, it stops you from focusing on, whatever is going on. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share number 5, gratitude. Gratitude to me has helped me a lot whenever I'm stressed. Whenever somebody or something is stressing me out, then I'll just say, I am thankful for. And I'll say one thing, and then it'll lead to more. Obviously, the more things that you say that you're grateful for, the more your heart will just, I don't want to say decrease, but it won't be as hard. So it'll soften. Yeah. So that's my number 5.
I like that. Why don't you give us a 6 before I give you another one?
So number 6 is breathing. There is this amazing app that I'm using. I mentioned it already. It's Headspace. I do not get any royalties for Headspace, but I do love Headspace. They have an image of an ocean. There's several different ones, but this one's my favorite because I love the ocean. And the ocean, it rises, so it's breathing in, and then hold, and it'll tell you to hold, and then breathe out. And then when it breathes out, you see a little starfish. It's very cute. So take note of your breathing, because when we're angry, we're either hyperventilating or we're not breathing enough. We're shallow breath. And so whenever our body goes into stress mode, you can sense it. If you're intuitive to your body, you can sense that. I know, like, before I used to like clench my hand, like I used to be really upset and I'll clench my fists, and I know many of us have done that. Either clench our fists or like our face starts to like crumble and all that. When our body goes into this physiological, differences, then that's the time to be like, okay, I need to breathe and just take that minute, just take that pause and just breathe. So that is my number 6.
Okay. I'm going to give you number 7.
Okay.
Number 7 is journaling.
That's a good one.
Because, no matter, however you look at history, right from there you go. I have them all around me. So whenever you look at history, they always say, if you don't study history, you're deemed to repeat it, right? So that's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I journal all the time. I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. And it's really, really interesting because even a week could go by and you could go back and look at what was stressing you out or what issues you were dealing with. And you can see what you were thinking and how you were dealing with it. And you can look at a year ago or 2 years ago, or and how much your life has actually changed, because people don't recognize their lives have changed because they're in it, they're living it, they're doing it. And sometimes it doesn't give them enough time to stop and pause. And like you said, have gratitude and be appreciative to, the fact that you've made it this far, another day, another week, another month, and being able to look back at how your process was then compared to now. Really, really, really works. It's so good for your mind. It's so good for your soul. It's so good for it is awesome. So that's a real strong one for me.
Yeah, I love it. So that's number 7. Number 8. Number 8, what is my number 8? I love dancing. And so as you can, if you're following me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, I've been doing this dance since the 1st of January, 2022. And the reason actually why I started is because I was going through stress. There was a lot of things going on, during that moment in my life. I was not actually very happy. I was actually really upset. But I decided at that moment, December 31st, that I was not going to let my joy be taken away. And so my year for 2022 is joy. And so even if I don't want to dance, and I'm going to tell you, there have been many days that I don't want to dance. There have been many days that I was going through something and I didn't want to dance. So I just kind of start like, And like, and then you start listening to the music and then you start feeling it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm good. So it changes my mood. So that is my number 8 is dancing. I do love that you journal, by the way, because journaling, as you can tell, I journal myself too. So in my journal, it's about my gratitude. So anyway, so that is my number 8. What is number 9?
I think number 9, this is a really hard one to do, just so you're aware of it. And anybody who's listening to us or does listen to us at any time, this is being able to separate yourself from the issues that are causing the stress. So, I mean, even if it means departure, if it means another individual is not going to be in your life anymore, or maybe you're taking a break from them, or even if it's work, something, just being able to just detach and say, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it alleviates it because you're taking that piece out. You're literally removing it.
So Don Miguel Ruiz wrote a book called Impeccable Truths, I believe it's called, 4 Impeccable Truths. And one of them is don't take things personally. And that probably, you're right, that is the hardest. It's the hardest to do because words, as you know, can hurt. Words can hurt. And I think a lot of us are, we internalize whatever words are being given to us. But one thing that I remind myself is, or I question, this is a question that comes in mind when somebody says something to me that's hurtful. Is it true? Is it true? And so, yeah, don't take things personally. That is one of the hardest one. My number 10, I do have a number 10. Do you have a number 10? Because we can.
Yeah, I'll let you go first though.
Okay. So my number 10 is working out, running, that alleviates my stress. So that is my number 10. When we work out, and we should be working out at least 30 minutes a day. That's, for our health, not for anything else other than, health, and that's it. But that's also good for our mental health. It actually increases I think it's serotonin, something. It's like the happy hormone. So working out is my number 10.
Okay. My number 10 is going to be meditating.
Meditating?
Because and even that is something you have to learn how to do. You have to take the time to practice, and but once you do, I can remember starting many years ago after reading Paramahansa Yogananda's Man's Eternal Quest. It was another great book, by the way, but it was all about meditating and learning how to do it. When I first started doing it, it seemed like I couldn't even meditate for 10 seconds, but trying to stop all those thoughts in your head. But now it's gotten to a point where all I got to do is kick back and know that I'm trying to meditate and right into it. So don't, if anybody is going to try, just read something that teaches you how to do it, and then from there just keep practicing, because eventually you'll get to a point where you can literally turn everything right off. And just be at peace with whatever you're focusing on, and it works really well. In fact, do you mind if I offer one more thing in that?
Sure.
So, my own children, as they were growing up, they would say, "I can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep." But maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's energy. I don't know. So, and this is a form of meditation. I would say, okay, this is how you fall asleep. Think about one color. Pick one. Okay, and keep your eyes closed. And once with your eyes closed, you see nothing but that one color, take a deep breath and envision that color coming deep down into your lungs. And then when you exhale it, and you do that 5 times, once you've done it 5 times, change the color. So you go from, say, red to blue to green, but the point is that by doing that, you're calming your body. Your focus is on one thing, and then you start to vision it, just like athletes. You vision what you want to accomplish. So you envision the colors, you vision that. Before you know it, you're sleeping, and that's a form of meditation.
Yes, that definitely is a form of meditation. It's definitely in the breathing. And I love that, you ask them to focus on a color. That is true. That helps me if I can't get to sleep. I focus on the color black. And I focus on the color black because for me, it symbolizes nighttime and it's time to sleep. And so that is what I focus on. So that's funny. I love that. I love that we have like all these different tools that we can use in order to, to relieve our stress. So we need it. I am, like I said, I'm doing that meditation program. I'm on my 10-day, and it's been really helpful. And it's actually a 30-day program. So I will let you know how that goes at my 30-day. But as the instructor says, even if you don't feel like it's doing anything, just continue practicing. Like what Tom said, you just continue to practice it. And eventually, it does change you. That's all about compound interest, right? It's a compounding effect. So you got to do just a little bit at a time, even if it's just for 1 minute.
Yeah, in fact, this is such a great topic right here, is that, as I mentioned, when I first started trying to learn how to meditate, it was hard because you have to put yourself in a very quiet space where you can't get interrupted, and then you got to stop your random thoughts, and focus on something. I can remember the first time that I made it past like 10 minutes or something, or 5 minutes. And I felt like it was only, I was disappointed. I felt like it was only for seconds. And then when I got up, I realized I'd been meditating for 45 minutes. That was a game changer right there.
Wow, that's a long time. 45 minutes. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I haven't reached the 45-minute time yet, but you know what? I am slowly getting there. So
yeah, it takes time, it takes practice.
Yeah. So Tom, I'm so glad we got a chance to talk, and we're talking about stress. I think that's a vital thing to talk about, especially now. There's a lot of families out there who are going through different things, whether it be financial or relationship stress, or whatever, physical stress. So I am so grateful for you, Tom, and I'm glad that we had this moment together. Is there anything else that you'd like to share in terms of stress?
Yeah, actually, one last thing. I would say that if you have somebody in your life, whether it's a coworker, family member, spouse, it doesn't matter, and they are stressed, okay, their levels are way up there, give them some grace. Give them some grace, because we all have to deal with stress, and all of us deal with it differently. And some people can cope with it better than others. So versus getting into I won't say confrontation, but into something that actually creates stress for you too. So just give them some grace, give them some time. Try to do little things that just lighten the mood. Whatever. Just stay out of the way. Just give them some grace.
I love that you mentioned that. That was actually one of our other podcasts, was about grace. And so I thank you for reminding us to give each other grace. You're right. Especially right now. I feel like right now during the pandemic, it has really caused a shift in just how we interact with each other. And so just a friendly reminder, those who are waitresses, waiters, everyone in the service industry, please give them grace, because they are going through a lot as well, and it's hard to serve others. So please give them grace. And I love that you mentioned that. What was the other thing? There was another thing I wanted to share. It's giving grace, but it's also venting. So releasing it. So if you are going through stress, either journal it, like what Tom mentioned, right? So use your journal, write everything that you want to write out in that journal, to release whatever you're feeling inside, because it can get bottled up if you don't vocalize what it is that's trapped inside. It's kind of like a soda, right? Like, so if a soda is inside a like a 2 liter, right, or a can, and then you start shaking it, right? Because you're upset, right? So eventually if you release it, that thing like just bursts out, right? Otherwise it's trapped in there, right? So visually, right, I'm just imagining once you release it, it'll calm it down, right? Calm yourself down. So either writing it or talking to a trusted friend or a therapist. Therapist is really a good one to talk to. Highly suggest looking for one. A therapist will always be able to get the answers out of you. So a therapist will ask those right questions and be able to, you will be able to actually say it out loud, and it'll feel so much better. So, yeah. So
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because even I have a therapist, right? I mean, because it's the one place, even though we all have very close friends that we can vent with and stuff like that, but that's the one place, especially if you find the right one, then that you can speak freely and openly. It's just like, and it does, it lets you get these things off your chest, off your shoulder, the monkey off your back, whatever you want to call it. It's so good for people. And if anybody out there, I don't care how healthy you think you are, if you're not talking to a therapist, man, you're missing out.
I agree, because I feel like speaking to a therapist, because that therapist is unbiased. So they're unbiased, at least find a good one, right? That's unbiased and that really cares for you. I have a therapist that she's very calming, and she's very like, the way that she talks is very like, I don't want to say it's monotone, because it's not monotone, but it's very gentle. She's very gentle with me, and I think that's what we need, because there are times when we do have stress, we're not gentle on ourselves. So it's nice to have somebody be gentle towards us, and be able to just listen to us, without any interruption, and really ask us those questions that our friends will not be able to ask, because they're not trained. So yes, highly.
Yeah, and more importantly, there is no judgment. It's just
right, no judgment. So well, we talked about a lot of different things that I feel these are great tools for you to have, to alleviate stress and to calm yourself down, because we will have stress. That is inevitable. We are not immune to it, and right now it's a good time for us to have a game plan. Have a game plan of what to do when you are stressed. So with that said, thank you so much, Tom, for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you on again, because when you and I talk, we can talk about a lot of different topics off the top of our head. And it's an amazing time whenever we get a chance to talk. So I'm thankful for you, Tom. Thank you.
I'm very grateful for you too, Jan, and thank you for inviting me. I'd be more than happy to attend another time.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. Please follow us, Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, and then it's Sexy Soul Fed. I'm gonna butcher it. Sexy, Soul Fed, and Successful. That's on Facebook. And then follow me, VIP Finance Builders, on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, Finance Builders. Tom, where can we find you?
I'm on Facebook. And I have I'm on Instagram. The only thing I really do though on those things is record my music and throw it out there.
Actually, yes. Would you be able to play something for us, Tom?
I can try.
Okay. All right. So here, if you're stressed out at this very moment, Tom's gonna play you something.
I'm not gonna sing though.
Oh, that's okay. We'll listen to you play.
All right, let's see. that wasn't too bad for off the cuff.
That was awesome. Yes, that was right on the spot. And you're like, yep, I'm going to play. So thank you. That was very calming. Very calming.
Yeah, it was a good song for that.
Yeah. What was the name of that song?
Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd.
Nice song. Okay. Thank you. So you can find Thomas Campbell, and we'll put that in the notes below so you can find him there. Otherwise, thank you again, everyone, for listening. We'll see you again next week. Have a great one.
Take care. Thank you, Jen. Bye.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at SexyFreedomMedia.com.